And here we are. We're here. We're going to make sure everything's set up. We're going to make sure we sound good. And we're going to get right into it, I think. Let's see here. The little checklist I've made for all the things I need to do before anything happens to make sure that we sound good, are audible, and all that. Let's see here. Oh boy, this is gonna be something. Feeling real out of my element on this one. Let's see, that's working. That's working. That's not working, but that's a good thing. We don't want that one to be working. Okay, my goodness. It is the morning time for me. I am not going to be playing Elden Ring. Wink. And that means I'm out of my element. I'm going to be doing something story heavy, and that means a lot of reading, which is why I'm, of course, here at the library. Let's just make sure everything sounds okay. If anyone, I see a couple people watching, if the game audio needs to be adjusted, or if I need to be adjusted, do let me know. Other than that, I think I'm not gonna delay too much. Today, dear viewers, we're gonna be playing a dang visual novel. I don't play these ever. Nothing against them, it's just never something I usually go to for video games. And I've talked to a few people as to which one I should play, and we landed on one. It's called Everlasting Summer. I figured it would be appropriate, given that it is the grip of winter time for me, to dream of summer. I know nothing about this game. So much so that I put on a few content classifications for this stream that I don't even know if I need, but I'm just trying to cover my bases. With that being said, I don't want to delay too much. I'm going to make sure everything is working, and then we're going to get right into the live scene. We're going to get right into the gameplay? My goodness. My goodness. Here we are. Here we are. I've put in a few UI elements to make myself more comfortable. I hope that's okay. But with that, let's get right into the new game. I was having that dream once again. That dream. Same thing every night. But it's all forgotten in the morning, as usual. Maybe it's for the best. Only a glimpse of memory will remain. Is this not showing this part on the stream? What's going on here? Also, that strange girl who keeps asking me. Is this in a different window? Hold on. What's going on here? I'm looking at the stream and it's still on the information screen and I'm not sure why. Should be. Did this pause? Oh, wait. Hold on. That was weird. Anyways, let's continue. Oh, technology. Oh, the UI's in the way. Hold on, let me adjust that. Oh, it's going so well. Everything's working, and it's great. Gonna move that up. That should be fine. Technology doesn't spite me. Never again. The marquee's a little large, but that's okay. Okay. Now I think we're good. Now I think we're working. Now I think we're functioning. And what a word to come back to. But where? And why? And where am I, anyways? Of course, if it all happened in real life, I would certainly have been scared. Well, what else would one expect to feel? But this is just a dream. The same one I see every night. There must be a reason. You don't have to know where or why to realize something is really happening. Something desperately seeking my attention. Since everything that surrounds me here is real. As real as things in my own flat. I could open the gates, hear the hinges creak, brush the crumbling rust away with my hand, inhale the fresh, cool air, and shiver from the cold. I could, but to do that, I would need to pick myself up, take a step, move my hand. But this is a dream. I understand that. But what of it? What does my understanding change? Because here, it's just like on the other side of the cracked screen of an old TV, which struggles to fight against static noise and strives to show its audience everything without missing a single detail. But the picture is getting blurry. I must be waking up soon. Ellipse. Maybe I should ask her something. The girl. What's her name? About the stars, for instance. Why the stars, though? I'd rather ask about the gates. Yes, the gates. She would be so surprised. Or better, why the dot over an I was called a tittle, but the dot over a J was called a superscript dot. Nice letters. As if they don't exist anymore. Still, what do letters, gates, and stars have to do with this place? Because even if I'm having this dream every night, which will be forgotten soon anyways, I've got to look for answers here and now. And there, if you look carefully, you can see the Magellanic clouds, as if I'd ended up in the southern hemisphere. Ellipse. In a dream, there are small things that catch your attention. An unnatural color of grass, impossible curves of straight lines, or your own distorted reflection. While the real danger, which could put an end to everything right here and now, seems trivial. It's natural, since here, you cannot die. I know it for sure. I've done it hundreds of times. But if you cannot die, is there a point in living? I should ask the girl. She's a local. She should know. Yes, exactly. I should ask her about the owl, for example. One strange bird it is. Though it doesn't matter. Ellipse. Will you come with me? And every time I have to answer. It's the only way. Otherwise the dream will never end, and I will never wake up. Well, I'm being told that it's the only way, so yes, I'll come with you. Every time it's so hard to decide on the answer. Where am I? What am I doing here? Who is she? And why does so much in my life depend on this answer? Or maybe it doesn't. It's just a dream after all. Just a dream. That's the sound of my phone falling down onto the floor. Hold on. There we go. Oh, a keyboard. How familiar. Uh-oh, getting blurry. That's not good. Yeah. Was that the pink-haired girl from Lazy Town? Uh-oh. What's going on here? The computer screen stared at me as if it was alive. Sometimes it really did seem to me that it was conscious of itself, had its own thoughts and wishes, ambitions, that it had feelings, could love and suffer. As if in our relationship, the screen wasn't an instrument. It was me, who was a lifeless piece of plastic and texelite. There is some truth in that. Probably because the computer provides 90% of my communication with the outside world. Anonymous image boards, some chats from time to time, rarely ICQ or Jabber, and forums even more rarely. People on the other end of the internet cable simply do not exist. It's true. All of you out there. Sometimes I doubt if you're even real. All of them are simply creations of its sick imagination. An error in the source code or a kernel bug, which started living a life of its own. Uh-oh, that better be the ceiling. Oh, good. If one looked at my existence from the outside, such thoughts would seem crazy, and a psychologist would surely give me a bunch of sophisticated diagnoses and maybe write me a doctor's referral to the loony bin. Uh-oh. This guy's blinking not enough. Or too much. One of the two. A small apartment with no signs of repair or any semblance of order in it. And always the same view out the window on the gray megapolis, running somewhere, day and night. Such are the conditions of my life. Well, of course, it didn't all start like this. I was born, went to school, and finished it, like all the others. I was accepted at a university, where I spent a year and a half trailing behind and struggling. I drifted through several jobs. Sometimes it was working out quite well. Sometimes I was even getting decent money for it. But it all felt like it was not mine, as if taken from another man's biography. I wasn't living life to the fullest. It was looping over and over in monotonous circles. Like in the movie Groundhog Day. It's just that I had no choice in how to spend my day, and every day repeated itself, the same vicious spiral. A spiral of emptiness, misery, and despair. For the last few years, I just sat in front of the screen all day. Sometimes there were menial jobs. Sometimes my parents helped me. All in all, I was able to provide for myself. No wonder, really, since my needs are quite minor. I hardly ever leave my home, and my communication with other people almost exclusively consists of online correspondence with the anonymous, who have no real name, no gender, no age. So, in brief, a quite typical life of a quite typical antisocial person of his time. Kind of a Donnie Darko on a minor scale, without doomsday-related visions. Maybe some highly respected author, author, will write a novel about me, and it will become a contemporary classic of modern literature. Or I will write one myself. However, what's the point of fooling myself? I tried many times, but couldn't even come up with a simple short story. I tried to learn many other things as well. Not gifted enough to draw. Programming, got bored. Foreign languages, takes too much time. The only thing I loved doing was reading. But I still never would have called myself a scholar. Perhaps I was an ace at watching anime and a grand master of lame internet jokes. If I were to get paid for it, I would probably be a happier person, and a richer person too. But I doubt it would fill the hole inside of me. Today was another typical day of a typical failure's typical life. And today is the day that I have to go to my university reunion. Frankly speaking, I really didn't want to. What is the point? The time I spent with them was so short. However, I was persuaded by a friend, my former university mate, and one of the few with whom I kept in touch other than through the internet. I have a feeling that I may need to turn this down just a smidge for me. Poop that down a bit. And we'll go back. So, before we continue, we'll just make sure I know all my settings. These are our save slots. I'll just pop one there. These are our settings. I'm going to turn the sounds down just a bit. Just a bit for my own sake. And let's see here. This is the main menu. Good. This is the saving things, as I already saw clearly. Okay, I think we're good to keep going. A frosty evening. Bus stop. Waiting. I never liked winter. Though hot summer is not my season either. It's just that I see no reason to point out any particular time of year. It doesn't matter much what the weather is outside when you stay at home 24/7. The bus today was running so late that I was about to curse it all and spend my last few hundred rubles for a taxi. The idea of just returning home didn't cross my mind for some reason. As usual, millions of thoughts flew through my mind, but there was not a single useful one to seize on. Such a thought that you could bring into existence, give a shape, turn into idea, and put into practice. Maybe I could start my own business. But where would I get the money from? Maybe I could go back to working in an office. No, no way. Maybe I should try freelancing. But what skills do I have, and who would want me, after all? This guy's so relatable. I suddenly remembered my childhood. Or rather, my teen years. The time when I was 15 to 17 years old. Why exactly those years? No idea. I guess it's because back then, everything was much more simple. It was easier to make decisions, so complicated now and so simple then. Waking up in the morning, I knew exactly how my day was going to pass, and I always eagerly looked forward to the weekend. Then I could get some rest and have time for the things I liked. Computer, football, going out with friends. And then, at the beginning of next week, I'd take up my studies again. Back then, there was no such worrying questions like why, who needs it, what will change if I do it, or what will not change. A simple lifestyle, so casual for any normal person, and so odd to myself today. That careless childhood age. It was also then that I met my first love. Her appearance and personality have vanished from my memory. Only her name remains, like a brief line from a social network profile, along with the feelings which overwhelmed me when I was with her. Affection, tenderness, the desire to care for her and to protect her. Sadly, it didn't last long. Today, I can hardly imagine something like that happening. I would probably like to meet a girl, but I don't know how to start a conversation, what on earth to discuss, or how to attract her. Well, I haven't met any suitable girls for a long time. But where would I meet one anyway? The sound of an engine brought me back to reality. A bus pulled over. There was something abnormal about it, I thought. Then again, it doesn't matter. Only the 410 runs this route. Oh, boy. Streetlights pass me by. It's as if their cold light sparks inside of me, trying to ignite feelings long dead. Or maybe not ignite, just awaken them. Because those feelings, they have been living in me for a long time, slumbering and waking up again. The driver's radio was playing some very familiar tune, but I wasn't listening to it. I was watching the cars passing by through the fogged-up window. Because people are always rushing somewhere, chasing something they need, stuck in their own little worlds. Why would they care about mine? They probably have their own serious problems. Or maybe they have much easier lives. You can't know for sure, since all people are different. Or are they? Sometimes someone's actions can be easily predicted. But if you try to look inside his soul, you will only see impenetrable darkness. Ellipse. The bus was approaching downtown, and my thoughts were interrupted by the bright city lights. Hundreds of billboards, thousands of cars, millions of people. I watched this light show, and I somehow got terribly sleepy. My eyes closed for just a moment, and then... Oh no. Here we go. Alright, so we've got ourselves our very, very introspective, very pessimistic protagonist. Got on a bus, went somewhere crazy. I hope we encounter a boss fight soon. I haven't even seen the tutorial on how to use my light and heavy attacks. Oh boy. Yeah, the names are going to be something. I'm going to have to make up my own names based on descriptors. This one will be Purple Hair. This one will be Crayfish, I think. This one will be Buoy. Yeah, I'm going to get my stuff taken. Hatsune Miku, you're here. Finally. Alright, I'm going to assume that this translates to Everlasting Summer. Or maybe it means 2 pylons. Day 1. Bright daylight struck my eyes. At first I didn't pay attention, as I wasn't fully awake yet. On their own, my legs carried me towards the door. Damn, looks like I fell asleep and missed my stop. Oh good, they have names. My guy's name is Semyon? Okay. But there was no door. I looked around the bus and realized that it wasn't a good, old, worn-down Liaz. Instead, the bus was an Icarus model, a new one. This guy knows his buses. I froze in shock. How? What? Am I dead? Have I been kidnapped? No, I must be dead. I patted myself down feverishly, slapped myself painfully in the face a few times, banged my forehead on the back of one of the bus seats. It's clear. Either I'm still alive, or you can still feel pain when you're dead. But how could this happen? Maybe I slept for too long and ended up at the bus depot. And then what? Did they put me onto another bus? I rushed out and took a look around. Oh, the UI has it covering up their names with the thing. Hold on, let me adjust that for you. There you go. There you go. That way my name doesn't have to be Flask of Crimson Tears. Perfect. Greenery wherever I looked. Tall grass on the roadside, trees, flowers. Summer. But how? It was just winter. Oh, it was winter just a moment ago. My head was aching unbearably, as if it was going to explode. Slowly, I began to remember. Gah. A long road running off into the distance. Forests, plains, fields, lakes, and forests again. I think I was sleeping, but then, how can I remember all of it? And then, a gap. Some girl leaning over me. She softly whispered something into my ear. Then a gap again. And then I woke up here. Who was that strange girl? Or was she just a dream? For some reason, thinking about her made me feel better and calmed me down a little. I felt warmth all over, coming from the inside. Could it be her who brought me here? Then I need to find her. And the best place to look for her is away from here. I rushed to the left, then to the right, then stopped, hesitating over where to go. Finally, I ran in the direction from which the bus had probably came. Ellipse. Physical exercise does refresh one's mind. Thoughts become clearer, and it gets a little easier to evaluate the surrounding reality. Not in my case, however. I was sitting on the roadside, wheezing and trying to ease my sore throat by gulping in breaths of hot air. In any case, the run did its job. The fear withdrew for a while. Maybe I really am just dreaming. Though, recalling my self-harm on the bus, I immediately rejected the idea. I am neither dreaming nor dead. A narrow road ran through the field and far into the distance. The exact same road from my dream. I must be very far away from home. And it's not just that it was winter yesterday and it's summer now. It's the whole environment. Of course, summer is usually like this, green and hot, but here everything is not entirely lifelike. Everything looks like it was taken from the paintings of Russian landscape artists of the 19th century. The grass is just too lush. The bushes are not like what bushes should be. They are so thick that you can't see anything through them, like treetops, honestly. And the trees themselves. The forest was quite far away, but the trees looked as if they had closed their ranks and were now just waiting for the order to advance onto the fields and plains. I caught my breath and looked at the bus, which was now barely visible. That was a good run. Fear overtook me once again. Those power lines. There must be people here. But what does it mean? In fact, that means nothing at all. Couldn't they have power lines even in hell? Roasting sinners over hot coals? That's so last century. I must have reached the point of no return, after which you should either lose your mind completely or finally try to understand what is going on. And while I still have a choice, I should pick the second option. I slowly headed back to the bus. Of course it was scary, but I'm not likely to find an answer in the fields or the woods, and this wretched bucket of bolts is the only kind of link that I have with the real world. Ellipse. I should carefully scout the area. A brick wall and its gates crowned with a Sovionok sign. I'm going to butcher these names. It means owlet. Unfortunately, the UI there obfuscates that, but Sovionok means owlet. Boy, I'm putting my UI in all the wrong places today. Let me bring that down. It's not going to be true to Elden Ring, but it'll have to be good enough. Its gates crowned with a Sovionok sign, statues of pioneers standing on either side, and a road sign nearby showing the bus route number 410. The trip's taking a bit too long today. I smirked. A person may start acting inappropriately in extreme situations. Something like that is probably happening to me now. This place didn't look abandoned at all. No rust on the gates, no damage to the walls. Sovionok. What could have a name like that? Judging by the pioneer statues, it could be a kid's summer camp. Moreover, it appears to be open. Of course, the simplest explanation, logically speaking, explains nothing at all. That's a good question. I believe this is originally Russian, made by Russians and translated to English. I'm also not sure to what extent that it is also part of a bit, because I get the feeling that it's a little bit of both. As I said, I did very little research going into this game. It was recommended to me as a good option for, something like this, so I unfortunately don't have all the answers. Back to it, though. The strange girl, the altered bus, summer, the pioneer camp. Thousands of theories went through my mind instantly, from alien abduction to lethargic sleep, from a hallucination to a time and space shift. None was worse than any other, but there was really no way to pick a single one. Then it occurred to me, I can try to make a phone call. I took out my cell phone and dialed the first number from my contact list. But instead of signal strength bars, the screen was showing a thick cross. All right, there may be no signal in such a remote place. Though I cannot be the only one who came here. Buses don't drive themselves. I examined the bus from all sides to make sure it wasn't a hallucination. Bits of dirt on the bottom, some rust here and there, fade in paint, and worn-out tires. No, this is definitely a very ordinary Icarus. Yeah, exactly the kind of bus which takes you to places beyond your understanding if you carelessly fall asleep. I gave a nervous chuckle. It came out by itself, sporadically, because this wasn't the right time or place to laugh. But where on earth is the driver? I cautiously sat down on the curb beside the bus and started to wait. Ellipse. My patience didn't last long. My anxiety seemed to have reached its peak, and I started to go slightly mad. In such a situation, anyone would probably have felt something similar. Aliens and parallel universes were gone from my imagination, leaving only void and darkness. Is this how everything will end? Is this how my life will end? But I wanted to do so much. There were so many things that I had no time for yet. I was overwhelmed by the idea. This was definitely the end. But why? It's not fair. Surely I'm no worse than anyone else. God, why? Tears were burning my eyes unbearably. I curled up and started rolling in the grass. Why? What did I do? Why me? But my cries were only heard by the speechless statues of the pioneers and a bird on a tree, which immediately flapped its wings and took off, crying out something in its own bird language, as if laughing at the idiot who dared to interrupt its after-dinner nap. I was left breathless from weeping and just lay quietly, sobbing occasionally. Ellipse. After a while, I managed to pull myself together. My mind cleared up a bit, as if terror and the fear of death gave me a little break. All in all, if someone wanted to kill me, what is all this for? It doesn't look like an experiment either. If this is just some crazy coincidence, then there's probably no threat. Anyways, for now it seems there's no danger. The panic was soon gone. Of course, the blood was still pounding in my temples, and my hands were still shaking, but at least I could think clearly now. Right now, there is nothing I can really change anyway. So no matter how much I think, or how mad I get, it would only make things worse. Until some actual facts appear, there is really no point in making guesses. In any case, I won't learn anything by lounging about here. This camp, if of course it really is a camp, looks like the only place people could be, so I decided to go there. And hardly had I reached the gates when a girl came out from behind them, wearing a pioneer uniform. My logic didn't let me down this time. Then again, a pioneer uniform in the 21st century, and then again, a girl here. I froze, unable to take a step. I felt very much like running away. Normal reaction. Running as far away as I could from this place. Far from this bus, gates, statues, and far from this bloody bird with its siesta. Just running, free like the wind, faster and faster, waving to the planets passing by, winking at the galaxies. Running, becoming a pulsar ray, and turning into vestigial radiation. Running to face the unknown. Run, no matter where, as long as it is far away from this place. Meanwhile, the girl came closer and smiled. I could not help but notice her beauty, even though I was trembling with fear. Human instincts work independent of consciousness, and while only 5% of the brain is responsible for cognitive processes, the remaining 95% are always busy sustaining life, and in particular, ensuring stable functioning of the hormonal system. I desperately wanted to get less complicated, to stop thinking in formal quotes from an encyclopedia, though my thoughts appeared one by one, being stupid, out of place, as if taken from an internal monologue of a hero of some junky softcover crime fiction book. A pretty Slavic face, long braids that looked like 2 armfuls of fresh hay, and blue eyes you could drown in. Pioneer girl. Hi, you must have just arrived. Well, let's see. Given everything I know about this character, the best thing would be to go mute. I was frozen in astonishment. The girl looked perfectly normal, just like an ordinary human, but I still could not utter a single word. I wonder if I can get through this game not actually saying anything to any of the characters. That would be very funny. It's too late to run. Did I say something wrong? It took a monumental effort to answer. Yeah. What? Oh, nothing. I mean, I've just arrived. I replied quickly, beginning to worry that I may have blurted something out wrong. All right, then. Welcome. She smiled broadly. Strange. It looked as if I had just a normal girl in front of me. Bah, I shouldn't have returned here. The woods and fields seemed better. But what shall I do next? Try to speak to her as if she was a human, or run away, or what? The blood was pumping unbearably in my head, tearing it apart from the inside. A little bit more and the poor pioneer girl would be splattered with the gruesome contents of my skull. What's so funny about that? The girl looked me over. It sent shivers down my spine, and my knees started to tremble. Nothing. Great, then. Great. What's so great about that? Suddenly a thought crossed my mind. To hell with it all. Forget about the bus behind me, the fact that it was winter yesterday and summer today. I wanted to rip off my itchy sweater and just accept that all this was actually happening. Everything is as it should be. All this is for the best. Would you happen to know? You should go to our camp leader. She'll tell you everything. Look, you go straight ahead to the square, then turn left. You'll see several small cabins. She pointed at the gates, as if I knew what was behind them. Dmitrievna is a patronymic, a derivative of a person's father's name, in this case Dmitri, put by Russians after... Oh, so it's like a... Okay. Gotcha. Well, you can just ask someone where Olga Dmitrievna's cabin is. I'm going to butcher these names, people. You just got to roll with it. Got it? Of course I didn't. Well, I've got to go now. The girl waved her hand at me and disappeared through the gates. It seemed as if to her I was something ordinary. And all this show with the bus and the travels while awake or asleep were troubling only to me, while everything here is just the way it is supposed to be. Camp leader, pioneer uniform. What? Are they doing a historical reenactment here? I hope I won't find Lenin standing atop an armored car in this square. But even that would not surprise me right now. After standing alone for a while, I headed into the camp. A mere 50 meters ahead, a small one-story house popped up on the left side. The sign near the door said clubs. I was about to come closer when the door suddenly opened and a short girl wearing a pioneer uniform came out. Her pretty face gave me the impression of one suffering for the fate of the whole of mankind and a truly universal sorrow. Alright, so I gotta give her a sad, mopey voice, okay. As soon as she saw me, the girl froze, as if frightened. I froze too, considering what was best to do. To approach first, or to wait until she showed some initiative. Or maybe run away after all. Although this last option was constantly being suggested only by my self-preservation instinct. At least that's what I'd like to believe. Not the worst human instinct, but far from the most logical. If this instinct played poker against deductive abilities, the outcome would be predetermined. And those deductive abilities, or at least their semblance, were hinting to me that there was no need to be afraid of this girl. Suddenly, somebody jumped out of nearby bushes. A girl wearing a bright red t-shirt with USSR written on it. Such a perfect reproduction of the age. She looked quite short from a distance, and was probably younger than both pioneer girls, the one at the gates and this girl at the door of the clubs. At last I decided to come closer, but the USSR, as I called her in my mind, jumped towards the first girl and started telling her something while wildly waving her arms. The other girl in turn seemed confused and lowered her gaze, remaining silent. I would have probably continued to observe their amusing dialogue, but the USSR suddenly pulled something out of her pocket and started waving it in front of the first girl's face. This something turned out to be a grasshopper. I assume that's the sound of fear, and not a terrible strangled dolphin like I just did there. The first girl squealed. She must not be too keen on insects, as she constantly rushed off towards the place where Lenin presumably made his speech about the workers' and peasants' revolution. That is to say, towards the square. The USSR glanced at me, grinning playfully, and dashed after her. Not a bad start to the day. I have absolutely no clue where I am. Besides that, there are some kids here role-playing as pioneers. And, as far as I can tell, this place is located thousands of kilometers away from my home. It might even be a different reality. And this was indeed a reality. I mean, everything around me seemed so real. if a little embellished, and I was starting to think that my previous life could have been just a dream. And what am I supposed to do now? Ellipse. I was picking at the cracked paving stones with my shoe and staring aimlessly at the club's building. Just a few more seconds before I have to come up with some decision. That's when I recalled myself rolling on the grass, weeping. I cringed in disgust. Perhaps it's another instinct. When all energy for whimpering and self-pitying is used up, the body either goes into hibernation or mobilizes its reserves. Mine seemed to have chosen the second option, because out of the blue, I found the determination to figure out what was going on. And in order to do that, I had to act like a man, like a human, to maintain the dignity of a representative of my own world. I followed the path to the left, on the right side of which stood small cabins, apparently the homes of the local pioneers. Actually, they looked quite cozy from the outside. Even though I was born in the Soviet Union, I had never been part of its children's organizations, neither the pioneers nor even the younger October children. I imagined the daily life of a typical pioneer camp a bit differently. Huge barracks with long rows of metal bunks. Wake-up call at 6 o'clock played by a siren. 1 minute to make your bed, then joining the formation in the drill square. Or wait, could I be confusing it with something else? Suddenly, something struck me on the back. I staggered but remained on my feet, turned around, and prepared to fight heroically for my life. But all I found was another girl standing before me. My mouth hung open in surprise. "Pick your jaw up off the ground." I closed my mouth. The same pioneer uniform, but the way she was wearing it looked, let's say, provocative. Like all the girls I had met here before, this one was rather cute, but her overly arrogant expression killed any desire to get to know her better. "New here, are you?" Ellipse. "Fine, see ya." She threw a threatening glance at me and walked past. I waited for the pioneer girl to turn at the corner. Who knows what else she might have been up to? The most interesting thing was that even this hostile girl seemed completely normal to me. She did not give off the feeling of some deadly danger. Except maybe the danger of getting punched in the nose. At last, I managed to make it to the square. There was no Lenin or an armored car, although one could easily expect something like that after all this happened. Instead, however, a monument to a certain comrade towered in the middle of the square. The letters on the pedestal read, Genda, or perhaps it's Genda, I do not know. Must be some big figure in the party. There were some small benches at the sides. It's quite pleasant here. Where did that girl tell me to go? To the left or to the right? To the left, to the right, to the left, to the right. And why am I going there anyway? Ah, right. I've decided to pretend to be normal. So, to the right. Through a small grove. I came out at a pier. I must have taken a wrong turn. "Hey, wrong way!" I turned towards the voice. That first girl stood before me. "No, what did I tell you? Take a left at the square, wasn't it?" She had changed from her pioneer uniform into a bikini. "Oh, I still haven't introduced myself. My name is Slavia. Actually, my full name's Slavanya, but everyone calls me Slavia. So you can too." Yeah. I still felt a bit confused, so I could not come up with more meaningful answers. And what's your name?" It felt like she could see right through me. Semyon. "Nice to meet you, Semyon. All right, I'm almost done here. Could you wait here a minute? I'm going to change, and we'll go see Olga Dimitrievna together. Agreed? Agreed. After this exchange, she ran off. I sat on the pier and let my feet hang into the water. I was wearing heavy winter boots, but in such weather there was nothing wrong in getting my feet wet. Furthermore, it let me cool myself a little. Looking at the river, I was brainstorming and processing everything that has happened. If this is some kind of conspiracy, it's a weird one, even too friendly at times. No, it really looks more like a random event. Some entirely incomprehensible random event. Shall we go? Slavia was standing beside me, dressed in the pioneer uniform again. Let's go. I've been here for a very short time, but of all the people I've met, she looks the least suspicious. However, this fact is already suspicious itself. We walked to the square. The USSR girl and the girl who hit me on the back were there, chasing each other. Is that some kind of game they're playing? Uliana, enough running. I'll tell everything to Olga Dimitrievna. Aye, aye, Captain. Oh, boy. I decided not to question Slavia for a while about what was going on, or the local residents. Better meet with this mysterious Olga Dimitrievna first. Sounds like she's the boss here. We walked past the rows of almost identical cabins, some of which looked like fat beer barrels, while others looked more like household sheds. Finally, Slavia stopped in front of a smallish one-story cabin. It looked like an artist's painting. The faded paint, chipping here and there with age, was sparkling in the sun. The window shutters, slightly ajar, were swaying almost unnoticeably in the wind, and huge lilac bushes were growing at the sides. It seemed as if this ramshackle hut was drowning in a storm of purple silk, and the lilacs, like some elemental force, were inexorably destroying the troop leader's house. What are you standing around for? Let's go. Slavia snapped me out of my daydreaming. And stop teasing Lenya already. Oh boy. Okay. It's a monster. Rena? Sounds like there's someone inside. Indeed, a moment later the door swung open, and Uliana ran out and dashed past with the same mischievous grin. The pig-tailed girl came out next. Don't let it bother you, Lena. Lena? I'm going to say Lena. So her name is Lena. Gotta be thankful it's not Rena, at least. But I don't. Instead of finishing her sentence, she blushed and quickly headed towards the square. For some reason I felt like turning and following her with my eyes, but Slavia said, Come. We entered the cabin. I like the look of this guy. I like this poster right here. Inside it looked similar to what I'd imagined. 2 beds, a table, a couple of chairs, a simple carpet on the floor, a wardrobe. Nothing special, but at the same time it felt homelike and cozy. Although this room is almost in the same state of disorder as my own flat. The girl standing near the window appeared to be about 25 years old. Nature had obviously gifted her with a pretty face and a good body. At least one thing to keep you happy in this pandemonium. The locals are beautiful. You're finally here. Excellent. My name is Olga Dimitrievna. I'm the camp leader. Nice to meet you. I'm Semyon. I decided to talk as if I wasn't surprised by anything that was going on. She came closer. We've been expecting you since early morning. You've been expecting me? Yes, of course. And when does the next bus come? And why do you need it? Yeah, right. Why would I need it? Guess I shouldn't ask direct questions. The people here may react to them quite unlike how I'd prefer. And I doubt I'd get any answers. No reason, just curious. By the way, where are we exactly? Our mailing address, I mean. I wanted to send a letter to my parents to tell them I got here fine. For some reason, I had the desperate idea that if I played along, I would find something out. Oh, but your parents called just a half an hour ago. Sent their regards to you. Now that's a surprise. So, can I call them? 'Cause I forgot to tell them something before I left. No. She gave me a sweet, spontaneous smile. Why not? We don't have a phone here. Ellipse. Then how could my parents make a call to here? I've just come back from the district's central town. I talked with them there. Oh, so that's how it is. And can I somehow get to the town? No. She kept the same smile. Why not? Because the next bus only comes in a week. I decided not to inquire how the troop leader managed to get there and back. I would get no answer anyway. All this time, Slavia was standing next to me and seemed to find nothing odd in our conversation. Oh, we need to find a uniform for you. I've got absolutely no desire to put on pioneer shorts or to wear the ridiculous red neckerchief. However, wearing winter clothes in summer isn't a great idea either. Right. Thank you. I wonder if I'm the only one here who finds it strange that someone's wearing a coat and winter boots in such heat. A bus every week? Luxury. Oh, you're telling me. Public transportation is a nightmare in my part of the world, too. At least where I am. And that's not a city. Rightio, I'll be off then. And you can get yourself acquainted with the camp. Don't forget to come to dinner in the evening. Having said that, she walked out of the cabin. No, walked is not the right word. She rushed out. I ended up alone with Slavia. I must go too. Got things to do. Take a walk. Look around the camp a bit. See you in the evening. If there is no threat or catch-it to this, then this reality, as embodied by Slavia, becomes more and more appealing. Ellipse. For the first time today, I've realized that it is awfully hot here. Although, obviously, my winter clothes were to blame for that. I took off my coat and dropped it onto the bed. My pullover followed it. I was now wearing only the shirt. That's much better. All I could do now was follow their advice and go look around the camp. I'll try to find something out in the meantime. Passing the local residential district, I saw a pioneer guy coming my way. And it really was a pioneer guy, not a pioneer girl. Apparently there were men even in this kingdom of Amazons. Hello, you're new here. You must be Semyon, right? And how do you... Everyone knows already. I'm electronic, by the way. The real one. You can call me that. Electronic, the real one. Things were going from crazy to completely insane. Electronic is a robot character appearing in Soviet film and book series. Okay, so this is like if the mascot from like a children's book showed up and claimed to be real. Okay, good. Good. Got it. Context. All right. Uliana also calls me cheesy. Cheesy? On toast. With mushrooms. Because my last name is Cheesekov. I see. Let me show you around. I accepted his offer, as it would have taken much longer to get to know this place alone. Fine, let's go. we ended up at the square again. As if this place was all there is to this camp. Lena was sitting on one of the benches, reading some book. Electronic confidently approached her. "Hello, Lena. Meet the new guy, Semyon." He started briskly. "Hello." "Well, you could say we've already met in a way." "Yes." She looked away from the book a moment, glanced at me, blushed, and went back to reading, as if not noticing that we were still here. "All right, let's go on." I was at first surprised that meeting this girl was reduced to a couple of words, but then I thought it was better that way. Electronic's vigorous activity did not fit well with Lena's shyness. "Let's go." Next, we came to a building, which I instantly identified as a canteen. "And this here?" "I know. This is where you consume organic food." "Yeah, something like that." On the canteen's porch stood the unfriendly girl who hit me on the back earlier. At the sight of her, my joking mood vanished in the blink of an eye. "Really now, this is not the best time to be pulling this guy's leg, even though he is quite hilarious." Oh wait, no, this is still me. "First, I need to figure out what's what here, or at least where I am." "Her, over there, that's Alisa, oh my god, Vachevskaya. Alisa Vachevskaya. Be careful around her." He spoke in a whisper. "Don't ever risk calling her..." Dva means two in Russian. The whole nickname sounds like to ch in Russian. An image to an anonymous image board. Okay. Vache. She doesn't like that. "What did you say? What did you call me?" She must have heard him. In a blink of an eye, Alisa jumped down from the porch and dashed toward us. "All right, you'll manage from here onwards." Electronic took to his heels. I'll do nothing." Alisa, running past, stopped for a moment and growled. "I'll deal with you later." "Deal with me? What did I do wrong?" I added a forced, guilty smile to my words. "But what am I guilty of?" She made no reply and carried on chasing Electronic. Ellipse. Looks like I'll have to kill some time alone, waiting for dinner. I decided to go east. At least in the direction where east would be in my world. Soon after, I found myself near a football pitch. A game was in full swing there. I guess watching it for a bit wouldn't do any harm. In my childhood and teen years, I was not a bad player myself, and even thought of going professional. But a few injuries in a row killed my desire to risk my health for the sake of uncertain chance in the game. Kids of different ages were running around the pitch. I could see a boy of about 10 and a girl of about 14 years old. A girl. Hey, that's Uliana. All right, so she plays football. What's so surprising? She seems like a restless one, after all. I was standing quite far from the pitch, but she still noticed me. "Hey, you!" Uliana shouted. "Wanna play?" I didn't know how to answer. On the one hand, running around for 10 minutes is no big deal. On the other hand, any wrong move in my situation could be my final one. But in any case, my attire wasn't suitable for this weather. If I played in winter boots and warm jeans, I would sweat like a pig. And playing barefoot and without jeans would be simply unethical. "Maybe another time, all right?" I shouted in response, turned around, and walked back. I was followed by Uliana's screams about my pants or me being a pansy, or something like that. Ellipse. Evening was falling, making me feel tired and emptied after a day wasted with no real purpose. I'm loving this guy. I'm loving this guy's internal monologue. Ellipse. I came back to the square, sat down on a bench, and gave an exhausted sigh. Oh, I'd better sit here and wait for dinner. After all, it's easier to search for answers when you're not hungry. They do give food to the people here, right? You know, it's curious how the simplest human needs can break the will to ponder on things, to strive for something. For example, I feel hungry now, so I care much less about where I am or what's happening to me. Could great people also be affected by this? And in that case, how did Spartacus start the slave uprising in ancient times? I could only conclude that I am not a great person, and it does not really matter which mechanism I serve as a gear in: society, the Matrix, or a weird pioneer camp. My thoughts were interrupted by the sound of bells chiming from a loudspeaker on a light pole. It must be the dinner call. I headed towards the canteen. It was a good thing that now I knew where it was. Olga Dimitrievna was there, standing on the porch. I stopped and looked closely at her, as if I were expecting something. She looked back at me for a while, but at last came closer. Semyon, what are you waiting for? Come in already. Guess nothing bad can happen if I go with her. My stomach backed me up here. The two of us went inside. The canteen looked like a canteen. I'd had a chance to visit a factory canteen at some point in my life. This one was exactly the same, just maybe a bit cleaner and more modern. I'm realizing now that canteen means cafeteria. What they call a canteen, I would call a cafeteria, and not just a container for water. Metal chairs and tables, glazed tiles on the walls and on the floor, unsophisticated tableware with the occasional crack. Guess that's what a canteen in a pioneer camp is supposed to look like. Semyon, wait a moment. We'll find you a place to sit. She looked around the place. Vachevskaya, hold it right there. Olga Dimitrievna shouted at Alisa, who was passing by. What? What's up with your clothes? Anything wrong with them? Indeed. Her attire looked somewhat provocative. Yeah, the translator probably is British, given that they called it football, not soccer. Get your uniform nice and neat right now. All right. Alisa got her shirt right and walked past, shooting an unpleasant glare at me. So, where can we find you a place to sit? There weren't a lot of free seats. Go over there, next to Uliana. Maybe I... Yes, it's fine. The food's already on the table, too. I had no other choice but to accept. Of course, there was the probability that the cutlets were poisoned with curare, the mashed potatoes generously seasoned with arsenic, and the glass filled with excellent antifreeze instead of compote. Which is a drink made by boiling fruit in a large amount of water. Oh, okay. Now that word there, that's also a word that I've read but never said aloud, so... University means UK or Australia. Okay, yeah, I suppose they call it university and not college. Lovely. But it all looked so tasty that I had no chance to resist. Hey! What do you want? I replied rather rudely to Uliana, who was sitting next to me. Why didn't you play football with us? Because of my clothes, said I, pointing at the source of the problem.
Oh, all right then. Eat.
However, there wasn't much left to eat. My cutlet was missing from the plate. Only she could have done it. No, more precisely, none but Uliana could have done it. Give me back my cutlet.
In a big family, you snooze, you lose. It can cost you a cutlet if you are careless.
Give it back, I'm telling you. You know what? Yeah, I'm a hungry guy. I'm gonna try to take that cutlet back. I looked at her menacingly and was about to reach out my hand.
See? I don't have it.
And indeed, Uliana's plate was empty. It seemed that this little girl eats as fast as she steals someone's cutlets.
Take it easy. We'll work something out now.
She grabbed my plate and ran off. There was no point in following her. If they wanted to poison me here, they could have done it in a much easier way. About a minute later, Uliana returned and handed me the plate with a steaming hot cutlet on it.
Here's one for the starving.
Thanks. It was all I could say. I was so hungry that my suspicions were gone in a flash. I picked up the cutlet with my fork and... What the? Some bug. No, not a bug. An insect. It's got legs and it's wiggling. The plate fell to the floor and broke into pieces. The chair hit me hard on my leg while falling. I've disliked insects since I was a child, but when these creepy crawlies appear on my plate, that's just way too much. You little... Uliana seemed ready for such a twist and was already at the door, laughing, as if she'd just heard a fresh stand-up comedy joke. I dashed after her. We ran out of the canteen. We were just a few dozen meters apart, and I felt I could catch this little girl easily. We ran through the square, past the club's house. We ran onto the forest path. I started to gasp for breath. I should have quit smoking, I guess. Uliana passed out of sight on the next turn. It can't be true that she managed to get away from me. It simply can't. I stopped and tried to catch my breath again. Night was falling. Looks like I'm lost. It's a bad idea to stay in the woods at night. I better get back to the camp. However, I had absolutely no clue which way to go. Well, gotta choose at random. Terrible idea. Don't choose at random. Real life tip. I wandered for quite some time in the forest and even thought of crying for help, but I finally saw the camp's fence beyond the trees. Everything fell back into place. The bus is gone, I mumbled quietly. On the one hand, there was nothing strange about that, but the bus couldn't just stay there forever. On the other hand, it meant there was someone driving, because buses do not drive themselves. Or do they? This world seemed too normal, but every event here had at least two explanations for it. An ordinary, real, everyday explanation, and a surreal one. Certainly, the driver could have just been off for a snack, and I left too soon, and that's why. In any case, this is not the place for me. Whether the bus drives itself or not was probably an important question, but it was much more important to know how I had got here at all, and where this here was. The fields and the woods, stretching towards the horizon, had no answers. There was nothing familiar about them. Ellipse. A strange, odd, and alien world. However, at the same time, it was absolutely not frightening. Either my self-preservation instinct decided to resign from its job, or all this running around the camp and the local pioneers had lulled me so much with their carefree normality that I was simply forgetting what had happened to me just a couple hours ago. Although I probably just had no strength left to worry. All I wanted was some peace, calmness. I wanted to just have a break from it all, and only after that would I continue looking for answers, ready and reloaded. However, that would be some time later. And what about now? Can I allow myself to relax? It got completely dark, and in any case, it was better to spend the night in the camp. I was about to head back when someone came up silently from behind. "Hello, what are you doing here so late?" Ellipse. It was Slavia standing before me. I was so surprised that I jumped. "So, you didn't catch Uliana, did you?" She smiled. I nodded disappointedly and sighed. "No wonder. No one ever has. Yeah, she's a real rocket girl. She could have found a better use for her energy than looking for adventures. You must be hungry. You didn't manage to have dinner after all." Indeed, I had completely forgotten about my hunger, but after these words of hers, my stomach drew attention to itself by giving a traitorous rumble. Slavia smiled. "Let's go then." "What, is the canteen still open?" "It's all right. I have the keys." "The keys?" "Yes, I have the keys to all the facilities in this camp." "How come?" "Well, I'm something like the camp leader's aide here." "I see. Well, let's go." It was an offer you can't refuse. When we reached the square, Slavia stopped in her tracks. "Excuse me, I should warn my roommate that I'll be late. She's so punctual herself that she'll be worried otherwise. You go on to the canteen. I'll come in a minute, all right?" "All right." I really did not expect to find somebody aside from myself there at such a late hour. And that somebody was apparently trying to hopelessly open the door. Without any secret thoughts, I walked up onto the porch. The lockpicker turned out to be Alyssa. I should have probably kept off and waited. She looked at me intently for a while, then said, "Don't just stand there. Give me a hand or something." "Meaning?" "Help me open the door." "Why?" "'Cause I want some buns and kefir. Dinner wasn't big enough." Is that really a good idea?"
"Aren't you hungry yourself, huh? Uliana didn't let you have a normal dinner, did she?"
She smiled sarcastically. "It's true. She didn't." "It's fine. Slavia will come now and—"
"What?"
Guess I shouldn't have said that.
"I'm off then. And you'll pay for this. You owe me 2 already."
Having said that, Alyssa disappeared into the night. And what was the first one? Slavia didn't keep me waiting for too long.
"Is everything all right?"
"Yeah. Why are you asking?"
"No reason. It's nothing."
It would be better if I didn't tell her about Alyssa. "Everything's fine." I said that and immediately heard a note of dishonesty in my voice.
"Well, shall we go?"
As for Slavia, she seemed not to have noticed anything. Or at least she was pretending she hadn't. We entered the canteen.
"Wait a bit. I'll go get something."
I sat down on a chair and obediently waited for my savior. My dinner was simple, a few buns and a glass of kefir. No wonder, I bet hungry pioneers finished everything off. However,
Even that was far better than most of my usual diet. Slavia sat across the table and looked at me while I was eating. Is there something on my face?
No, just... She smiled. How did you like your first day at the camp?
Well, I don't really know.
She's staring right at me on the screen, by the way. That's a little disconcerting.
It's silly to ask someone who suddenly found themselves in a different reality whether he liked the food in the canteen, the camp leader, or his assigned hut.
It's all right. You'll soon get used to it.
Slavia stared out the window dreamily. Frankly speaking, I have no desire to get used to such things. But as for her, she doesn't know. Or at least she wants me to think that she doesn't. Well, all in all, it's nice here. I had to somehow break the awkward silence.
Do you think so?
She asked without any interest. Yeah. This place is so... I wanted to say retro, but I managed to hold that back. After all, it was retro for me. But what about them? It might be the only kind of life they knew. If the term life was applicable here at all.
So how?
She watched me closely, as if something important depended on my answer. Well, I don't know. Lovely. Yeah, it's lovely here.
I guess you're right.
She smiled again.
It's very good that you think so.
Why?
Well, not everybody likes it here.
And what about you?
Me?
Yes.
I love it here. It's great.
Then you don't need to worry about what other people think.
Well, I don't really worry.
Slavia laughed. This conversation seemed to be leading me far astray from where I wanted to get to.
And you're worried yourself.
Really? Why do you say so?
Well, when someone is chewing so intensely...
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I couldn't bring myself to be more cautious around this girl. But why her in particular? Why not any other local inhabitant? Every one of them looked completely normal to me. Precisely normal. So normal it sends chills down my spine and into my marrow. Normal. Not like a neighbor with a power drill in one hand and a subwoofer in the other. Not like a passenger you can often meet in a subway or on public transport. Not like a co-worker at the next table in an open-plan office. And not even like a friend who only differs from other humans in his constant insistence. All of them looked normal, as I would expect them to be, with their own downsides, but without any superpowers. And Slavia was also cute. I glanced at her stealthily, not knowing what to say.
I'm sorry. I wanted to show you the camp, but was ran off my feet.
I didn't miss anything while on my own, I guess.
Are you sure you haven't missed anything at all?
She smiled so brightly that I had to drop my eyes in confusion. Well, how would I know? It's my first day here.
Okay, and what have you seen so far?
I've seen the square, this canteen, the football field.
And what about the beach?
Just from afar.
You really should go there, or let's do it together.
Yeah, okay, we will. Her naturalness started to scare me, but then I thought, what if everything that happens here is how it's supposed to be, and this world only or looks strange only to me, for while them it is normal? Maybe I was thrown into the past. Yes, that would explain a lot. Can I ask a stupid question?
No.
Slavia smiled and stood up from the table.
It's late. Can you find your way to Olga Dimitrievna's by yourself?
Of course I can, but why should I go there?
She'll settle you with someone.
What for? Probably this question seems stupid, because Slavia bursted into good-natured laughter.
You need to sleep somewhere, right?
That makes sense.
Fine. I'll be off then. Good night.
Night. It's strange that she left in such a hurry. A bundle of keys left in the door lock caught my attention. I was going to catch up to Slavia, but where does she live? And knocking on every door in the middle of the night didn't sound like a bright idea.
Ooh, free keys. I'll take them.
I'd better take them. I'll give them back tomorrow, because who knows what happens here at night. Such thoughts gave me chills. It's me who needs to be careful here in the first place. The night, though dark, wasn't silent at all. One could hear chirping crickets, the songs of the night birds, and the rustling trees from everywhere. A sudden desire to follow Slavia's advice and go to the camp leader's cabin appeared. I don't know why, but the sight of the unknown bronze builder of communism put me in a constructive mood. I sat on the bench and started to recall everything that happened today. That was all my constructive mood could offer. Here was much brighter than near the canteen, and tardy pioneers were running by, so this place didn't seem scary at all. Bus, summer camp, girls. I was so tired from everything new and strange that I could not come up with a single explanation for what is going on. I heard a barely noticeable rustle nearby. I shivered and looked in that direction. A girl, reading a book. Lena. I decided to move closer and talk. She was the only new person I had met here without exchanging even a few words. Hi, what are you reading? Lena was so surprised that she even jumped. Sorry, didn't mean to scare you.
Never mind.
She blushed and stared at the book again. So what are you reading? On the cover was written, Gone with the Wind.
You know what? We're a character that likes reading. This has been established. Let's talk books.
A good book.
Thanks.
Honestly speaking, I haven't read it, but I think that such literature suits her very well.
This guy said he likes reading and he has never read Gone with the Wind or anything. Come on, guy.
Lena didn't seem to be interested in continuing the conversation. Well, if I'm bothering you... No, she answered while still looking at the book. Can I sit beside you for a while? Why? And really, why? Maybe just because I was very tired, and having company is better than being alone. And maybe I wanted to try and find something out from her. I carefully examined Lena. Lena, I'll look these up later. But no, I doubt that. Well, I don't know. I'm not allowed to?
Feel free.
But if I'm bothering you...
No, you're not.
I can leave. Just say,
everything's all right.
Okay, then. I sat on the end of the bench carefully. After such an intense talk, staying here was the last thing I wanted, but it wouldn't be nice to just stand up and leave. That really didn't go well, huh? Lena hasn't answered anything. It seems I made a fool out of myself. I bet if Uliana were here, she'd have a good laugh at me. Do you enjoy being here? I recalled the Slavia's question and thought it would be a good start for a conversation. Yes. She smiled slightly. I guess I like it too. Lena definitely wasn't very sociable, and probably can't carry on a meaningless conversation as easily as Slavia. But there was something about her that attracted attention. Like a momentary glimpse of a reflection in the glass on a rainy autumn evening, which makes you turn around and stare into darkness, searching for something that you saw out of the corner of your eye. Of course you weren't able to distinguish or understand what it was, but it still felt so tempting. Lena was still reading the book without paying attention to my presence. Oh, I need to cough, hold on. Sorry about that. And I had no intention of asking her anything about this camp, or this world in general. Beautiful night. Yes. How in the world would you start a conversation with her? It's late. I have to go. Yes, it's quite late. Good night. Night. There was something strange about this girl. At first glance, she is typically shy. She is a typically shy and modest pioneer girl, but the mystery of Lena took its own place in the massive list of mysteries about this camp, which I had started to put together in my head. Ellipse. A lazy evening. There's nothing like a good time with nothing to do. I headed towards Olga Dimitrievna's cabin. The light in the house was on. Hello, Semyon. You're quite late. Yeah. I went for a walk to look around the camp. All right. You will be sleeping here. She pointed her finger at one of the beds. Right here? I was a bit surprised. Yeah, is something wrong? We are out of free cabins anyway. The camp leader smiled, but I rather think it was just out of politeness. You do want to be a decent pioneer, don't you? There was a clear emphasis on the word decent. Yep, sure. I was lost in thought for a moment. Don't you mind it, mademoiselle? She looked at me oddly, with surprise and some offense in her eyes. A pioneer should respect their elders, Olga Dimitrievna said strictly. Of course he should. No one argues with that, I blathered, not realizing what was wrong. Shouldn't you also? She stared at me. Under such a gaze, even mithril forged by the best dwarf masters from the deepest dungeons would melt. Should I what? What's up, toots? Annoyance and a lack of understanding made me raise my voice. You must address adults appropriately. Yes, of course there are a lot of strange things here, but this girl is just a couple of years older than me. Or maybe even younger. But I decided not to argue. Well, just a few minutes ago, I would never have called her an adult. I have to admit she was also given a strong character. In any case, I wasn't in a position to argue. As you say, ma'am, I mumbled. That's much better. This is how a decent pioneer should conduct himself. And now it's time to sleep. Honestly speaking, I was going to become neither a decent nor an indecent pioneer. Just yesterday, I wasn't going to become a pioneer at all. But do I have a choice now? If you don't want to, we'll have to make you. This is the motto Olga Dimitrievna was probably going to use. I climbed onto the bed and closed my eyes, only to realize how tired I was after today. Something hammered in my head awfully, as if my brains had started a night shift, and they seemed to be aimed more at rolling steel than working on something more sensitive. The bus flew through my mind, and the square with the monument, the canteen full of pioneers, and the malicious face of Uliana. Slavia. Lena. And even recalling Alisa didn't give me too much of a negative feeling. What if I'm here for good? Day 2. I think I'm going to figure out how to save the game just so we have this in case. And then we'll go for another hour 15, I'm thinking. Save game. Perfect. I was having a dream. It seemed like I was in some kind of vacuum, but with nothing but nothing around me. But not only around, I was the only creature in the universe. As if the universe had returned to a state of singularity right before the Big Bang. And something was just about to happen. Suddenly, I heard a voice. I could not make out the words, but it sounded familiar. The voice was whispering something gently, as if soothing me. And then I realized. It was the voice of that strange girl from the bus. The girl from the dream. But what is she trying to tell me? Who is she? I woke up. Bright sunlight struck my eyes. It was almost noon. After stretching lazily on the bed and yawning, I started to recall the previous day. In few seconds, all its events passed before my eyes. The bus, the camp, the local inhabitants. No, that's just wrong. Not this whole situation. Not me being here. It was wrong by default. My attitude towards what was happening was wrong. Because yesterday I fell asleep here just like that. And before that I chatted nicely with the local pioneers. Even managed to crack a few jokes. How could I act like that in such a situation? I should be frightened, startled by every little rustling, should avoid all contact with the potentially hostile creatures. The last day's events were getting hazy, like I had a hangover. It really feels like the morning after a heavy drinking party. Yesterday's natural, flawless, absolutely normal conduct becomes a nightmare in the morning. A grotesque illustration from the Divine Comedy. Yes, it's just like that. And I can't change the past now. Then again, I had probably assessed the situation and was acting accordingly. I glanced around, trying to figure out whether I had been thrown somewhere else, but Olga Dimitrievna's cabin looked the same as yesterday. Everything seemed to be in its place, except for a pioneer uniform, which was hanging from the bedhead. I fumbled with it in distrust and tried it on. At least this is better than walking around in winter clothes. Wish I could see myself. Bet I look like a clown. And for that, I needed a mirror. At least a tiny one. I finally found one on the wardrobe door. Holy... I looked at the newfound pioneer and jumped away in surprise. There was some teenager on the other side of the mirror, Oh, so that's the bit, okay. He resembled me, but he wasn't me. Where did the weak stubble go? Where were the bags under my eyes, that slouch, that deathly fatigue on my face? It seemed that I had not been thrown back in time or into a parallel reality, but I had simply changed bodies with someone else. Right, that's real simple. Such things happen every day. I took a closer look at the stranger, and only then I realized that it actually was me. It just wasn't today's me. Maybe the one from between my school and university years. Well, at least that's something. There you go. The person in an extreme situation did fail to know the elephant in the room, after all. But the camp leader noticed it, and last night she told me off for addressing her without proper respect. Ah, screw that. I doubt my appearance affects anything else. If the clock was not lying, breakfast was long over. Oh well, I'll try to find something in the canteen. It worked out well yesterday with Slavia, didn't it? Those memories made me smile involuntarily. The sun was shining brightly outside. A light breeze was blowing. A beautiful summer day. I had felt not so good in the morning for several years. All problems were gone, vanished into clouds that were white as snow. Olga Dimitrievna came out of nowhere. Good morning, Semyon. Morning. I smiled, trying to show that, no matter what, my morning was indeed good. You only arrived yesterday, so I decided not to wake you up. But breakfast? Never mind. Here, take this. She handed me something wrapped in paper. Judging by the oily stains, there had to be sandwiches inside. Oh, thank you. Now go wash yourself. I was about to leave. Wait a second. Olga Dimitrievna quickly ran into the house and came out to shove a small bag into my hand. Inside it I found a toothbrush, soap, a small towel, and something else. I did not look too closely. A pioneer should always be clean and tidy. Let me do your neckerchief properly this first time. Yours is askew. You should do it yourself once you learn how to. Do we have to? I am going to wash myself now. Yeah, right. It could get hooked on the tap and strangle me. Fine. Later then. And don't forget about the lineup. Pencil, paper, drawing lines. You shouldn't forget such things. What lineup? What do you mean, what lineup? She frowned. It's Monday today. Weird. By my approximation, it should have been Sunday. Then again, a shift in the day of the week is hardly the worst thing. Usually we have lineups early in the morning before breakfast, but it's Monday today, so we are having it at 12 o'clock. Don't be late. All right, but where? At the square. Where else? There was no reason to argue. I headed to the bathing place. I knew I could forget about separate showers and toilet, but at the sight of this malfunctioning symptom of decaying socialism, a funny turtle with a tin shell, paw taps, and a ceramic belly, I felt sick. I was not a squeamish person, but nevertheless, standing there, I realized that there was still some minimal level of habitual comfort, which I found it troublesome to do without. It's often like that. When you lose things that you thought were ordinary and common, you suddenly understand just how essential they were. Ah, screw this. As if I have any choice. The water was ice cold. While washing my hands was not an issue, washing my face and mouth became a big problem. There was no toothpaste in the bag which Olga Dimitrievna gave me. I could brush my teeth without it, but there was a small round box wrapped in the towel. Tooth powder. Cute. 1 point for me being somewhere in the past. I washed myself quickly, quite quickly, also due to the ice-cold water. Someone was coming quickly, or more like running towards me. I turned around. It was Slavia, dressed in a tracksuit. This girl would probably look good in anything. Pioneer uniform, bikini, probably even a spacesuit. Hey there! Wasu. Good morning, yeah. Oh yeah, real smooth. Why didn't you come for breakfast? I overslept. I said it as if I was proud about it. But Olga Dimitrievna gave me some sandwiches. Oh, great then. Don't forget about the lineup. Yeah, sure. As if I could forget. Right, I gotta run. Enjoy yourself. She waved goodbye to me and disappeared around the path's bend. Looks like it's a couple of minutes until the lineup. I should quickly pass by my home to drop off my washing bag and eat the sandwiches, and then head to the square. I swung open the door to the cabin, or the camp leader's cabin, and rushed inside, as if jumping into the last car of a departing train. Oh no, I have a feeling I know what's about to happen. It didn't turn out to be the best idea, because inside I found Olga Dimitrievna, who was changing. I froze on the spot, trying not to breathe. Finally, the camp leader noticed me. Semyon! I looked away immediately. Have you heard of knocking? Now get out! Yeah, that was real clumsy. Although I did enjoy the sight. Olga Dimitrievna followed me out in a minute. Here, take this. Now it is your home too. She handed me a key. I put it in my pocket. Home. Of course, if you disregard how fantastical the current events were, this camp was far from being the worst place on Earth. But to call it home, just after 1 day spent here, I doubt I'll ever be able to do so. All right, let's go. We're late. But what about the sandwiches? Just eat them on the way. We were passing along the lines of the pioneer's cabin while I was tucking into the ham sandwiches, and Olga Dimitrievna kept on talking and talking. She was buzzing like a game of Operation with Parkinson's. But I cared about nothing but the food. Understood? Huh? You weren't listening. Sorry. Today is the first day of your new life as a pioneer, and you should do your best so that it becomes a happy life. Yeah, definitely. I'm serious. A pioneer has many duties. Great responsibility is conferred upon him to participate in social work, to help his juniors, to study and study and study again. We here are all like one big family, and you will become part of it. Yeah, a part. I'd even sign a party membership card if it could save me from listening to this nonsense. I hope that after your term here is over, you'll keep the most pleasant memories about our camp. Memories that will last your whole life. And when will this term end? Why do you keep asking silly things? It seems I won't get any information from her. A shame, really. This world appears to be so friendly, but it never bothered to introduce itself to me. Perhaps now I can take things somewhat easier than yesterday. It seems like I have some unspoken ceasefire with it. It isn't trying to hurt me, but I'm forbidden from asking questions. Of course, this situation isn't a pleasant one, but what can I do about it? A bad peace is better than a good dispute.
The most important thing for you now is to make the best of the time you will spend here.
I'll do my best. Honestly, I was very tired of this conversation. It would be good to know where that here is. But we came to the square. The pioneers were already lined up. What, is somebody not here yet?
Nope, all here.
She looked around at her brave pioneer troops.
All right, go stand somewhere.
Weird. Why would she tell me there are no more sleeping places? While the chief was running her mouth about our plans for the week, I stared at the people. A few heads away from me stood Electronic. A little further, Lena and Slavia, and at the end of the line, Uliana and Alexa. Everyone I had met was here. Olga Dimitrievna spoke about some competitions, and I turned my attention to the monument. Genda. Genda? Genda. I could not remember any revolutionary with a similar name. He had a weird posture, too, as if he was looking around with distrust, maybe contempt, or even disdain. Probably some local leader.
Daydreaming again?
Slavia brought me back to reality. Olga Dimitrievna stood nearby.
Still remember the plan for the week?
The plan? I will never forget the plan.
Perfect. She looked at Slavia. Did you bring it? Yes.
Slavia handed me a piece of paper.
It's a checklist. There are 4 tasks to check off. Do it all today. Before you start, sign up for a club. There are some clubs in the clubhouse, and a musical club in the separate building. Then, visit the infirmary, and finally, visit the library. Got it?
Yes. The checklist seemed like a good chance to find out something, since I had to go to places I haven't been before.
Then come on, start right now.
What about lunch?
Don't worry, I'll bring you more sandwiches. The checklist is more important. Good luck.
They departed too fast for me to ask anything else. Missed breakfast. Now I'll miss lunch too. This ain't good. Maybe I'll manage it in time somehow. Lunch starts at 1 p.m. Then again, if I go there, I might miss a place from the checklist. Okay, it's too early to go to the canteen anyway.
Oh, a map. Let's start with the infirmary.
What's the point of visiting the infirmary? My health was fine. The fresh local air clearly did me some good. I felt fresher than usual. But I just have to visit it. I entered. A common infirmary, like my school doctor's room. A middle-aged woman sat at the table. Obviously, she was a nurse. She gazed intently at me, assessing me while continuing to write something.
Well, hello, pioneer, said the nurse without being distracted from her work.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I have something.
Sit down, please.
I looked around the room. On the couch. I sat down. Strip.
She said all of it with an even tone.
What for?
To inspect, to auscultate. That's a word I don't say often. Auscultate? To check on your health, you know. By the way, my name is Violetta, but you can call me Viola.
She turned to me. "What are you waiting for? Strip." "But I have no health issues. I've got this." I neatly gave her the paper. "Later." She took the stethoscope off her neck, seeming like she intended to probe me with it. But then someone knocked on the door. The nurse answered unwillingly. "Come in." In a moment, the door opened widely. An electronic rushed inside. "Hello. I fell during the football game. Nonsense, of course. I'm okay. But Olga Dimitrievna..." There was a massive bruise under Electronic's eye. I doubt that this could be a football injury. "Sit down. I'll have a look," she said to him. "And you, pass me your checklist." The nurse quickly signed it and continued. "If something hurts, come to me immediately. Pioneer." I decided not to answer and went out, closing door behind me. That nurse is surely something else. All right, what's next? Let's go to the library. Actually, I love reading, but spending my days in a library under the current circumstances was well beyond my scope. So I'd better hurry up with this checkpoint. As I stepped inside, a memory from my childhood emerged in my head. It was very vivid. I'm 7 or 8 years old. I'm at the library with my mother. While she's looking through the books I might need for my studies, I'm sitting in the corner, looking through their collection of comic books. Back then, I didn't know why they had so many, or why I couldn't take some with me. The notion of collective property was something my mind hadn't grasped yet at that age. However, back then the whole concept of property was pretty hazy to me. This memory seemed even stranger now, while I was standing in this particular camp where they might have managed to build communism in 3 years. Soviet symbolism was all over the place, and the shelves were full of related literature. Of course, I wasn't planning to read any of these. Getting acquainted with a full collection of books by Marx was the last thing on earth I would think of. Where's the librarian? I didn't spend much time looking for her. I looked closely. Short hair, thick glasses, rather cute face. She was snoring so peacefully I couldn't just wake her up. I can wait. If she doesn't wake up in half an hour, maybe then. I couldn't just sit there, so I took a random book from the nearest bookshelf. Arthur Schopenhauer. Schopenhauer? I hope that's how it's pronounced. The World as Will and Representation. I opened it roughly in the middle and started reading. The life of a man, with its endless upkeep, wants, and suffering, is to be regarded as the explanation and paraphrase of the procreative act, i.e., the absolute claim of the will to live, and furthermore, it is also the reason that man owes nature his death, and thinks with anxiety of this debt. Is this not the evidence that our existence involves guilt? At any rate, we always exist, from time to time paying with death for our birth. We always exist and alternately bear all the joy and sorrow of life, since neither of both can pass us without some effect. That is the result of our stated will to live. Boy, howdy, do I wish I could read that. This attraction itself may be seen objectively as the mutual longing glances of two lovers. They are the purest expression of the will to live, and in its affirmation, how gentle and tender it is. It wants happiness, and quiet pleasure, and mild joys for itself, for others, for all. Someone knocked on the door. I closed the book quickly and put it back in its place. What a nice habit, knocking on the door. I should pick it up. It was Lena. Oh. Hi. I smiled. Hi, I just wanted to return a book. She had a copy of Gone with the Wind that I saw yesterday. Oh. Zhenya is sleeping. I'll come back later. I'm awake. I turned around in surprise to look at her. She eyed me closely from behind her table. What is it you wanted? I need you to check here. Give it here. She quickly signed the paper and gave it back to me. She had this look on her face that made me want to keep quiet. Lena came up to her to return her book. I thanked Zhenya and went out. Well, a little unfriendly, that one. So we got some icons here. There's an old building, a boathouse, the beach, and some islands, and the bus stop. Let's go to the regular clubhouse first. I went to the clubhouse. To tell the truth, I never really liked extracurricular activities. At school, I used to find any excuse to skip extra classes. At university, I had no interest in participating in the student council. I wasn't interested in boxing, aero modeling, or sewing. So I came here just to check off the box. Nobody was there. I found myself in something like a hut of a junior robot enthusiast. There were wires and simple printed circuits scattering everywhere. Chips, and on the table proudly stood an oscillograph. I heard voices from another room, and 2 pioneers appeared. One was electronic. The other one I didn't know. Hey, Semyon, we've been expecting you. It seems he knows everything about everyone. Why were you expecting me? Well, of course. You came to sign up for our cybernetics club, didn't you? He didn't let me answer. And this is Shurik. He's in charge here. I assume there's only 2 of you in the club? Well, you can say that it's 3 now. Shurik came up to me and assertively offered his hand. His face was somewhat familiar. Welcome to the club. Yep. Now, I'll show you around. Oh, hold on. Now, I'll show you around. Make yourself at home. Guys, I just wanted to... We're always welcoming new members. He said it in such a way that the anthem of the Soviet Union suddenly started playing in my head. It's amazing. I even remember the words. In the 1st grade, I had a textbook with the lyrics on the back. No. I just wanted you to sign my checklist. Yep, you sign up for the club, we'll sign your checklist. He grinned. I was getting ready for a long and boring argument, but then I heard someone enter. I looked back and saw Slavia. Ah, Semyon, I hope they're not giving you any trouble. She narrowed her eyes, looking at the future of the motherland's robotics industry. I know these 2. They can. Well, you know. Actually, I just need to get my checklist signed. I decided to take advantage of the situation. No problem. Give it to me. Slavia took the paper and marched up to Shurik. Sign it. Hold on, we're not done yet. You're done. Sign it now. She gave Shurik such a threatening look that it made him lose every possible objection. He wrote some squiggles on the checklist. I thanked Slavia, and then moved on in a mellow mood. And last but not least, the music club. The music club, a small 1-level building, was located some distance from the other camp buildings. I opened the door and entered without hesitation. There were enough instruments for a whole orchestra here. Drums, guitars, even a piano. I spent some time looking closely at every instrument, wanting to guess what time period they were from, but suddenly I heard a crawling sound coming from underneath the piano. I feel like you should be able to see underneath that piano from when you walk in. Oh, well, a girl. Seemed like she was looking for something. She was standing on all fours in such a suggestive pose that I hesitated to speak at first. "Excuse me." "Ah, who's there?" Ding. She tried to stand up, but the bottom of the piano prevented her from doing so. "Ouch!" She struggled out. "Sorry, I scared you." "It's nothing. Oh, you got a checklist. You must be new here." "Ah, yes." It's just Miku. Okay. "My name is Miku." "No, really, I'm serious. Nobody believes me, but it's my real name. My mother is Japanese. My dad met her when he was building, well, it wasn't him who was building. He's an engineer. And he was working on a nuclear power plant there. Or a dam. Or a bridge? Whatever." She was talking so fast she swallowed half the words she tried to pronounce. "I'm Semyon." "Great. Want to be in our club? It's only me here now, but it will be two of us then. Do you play anything?" When I became antisocial, I bought a guitar and learned a few chords, but then I forgot about it, since I quit everything that required more than a couple hours to learn. Relatable. You know, I wasn't planning to do anything like that, really. "Oh, it's okay. I'll teach you. Maybe a trumpet, for example. How about a violin? I know it all, honestly." There was no point in arguing with the orchestra girl, since there was only another cascade of words waiting to blast at me. "Hey, I'll think about it, but can you just sign it for now?" Yeah, sure, give it to me. Be sure to come around. I sing, too. I'll sing you some Japanese folk songs, or maybe if you're not into that, something more contemporary." "Sure. Thanks. Gotta go now." "Of course. Come anytime." They just put Miku in. Wonderful. The end of her sentence stayed inside. It might be nice to hang out with a guitar in the evening, but in such company. I turned to leave and came face to face with Alyssa. She eyed me suspiciously. "Why did you come?" "The checklist." "Got it signed?" "Yes." "Then move it." Alyssa went inside, and I hurried to leave the place. Ellipse. Finally, I got all the signatures. Now I had to go back to Olga Dimitrievna and give it to her. She was sitting in front of her cabin, reading a book. Doesn't look like a good role model for the perfect pioneer that she was planning to turn me into. I wonder if her responsibilities extended beyond giving fiery speeches at the lineup, scolding Uliana, and getting involved into my moral, physical, and ideological growth. Here. I offered her my checklist. She placed it in her pocket without even looking at the signatures. Great. I could have signed it myself without going anywhere. Perfect. So, did you meet our nurse? Yes. For some reason, her question sent shivers down my spine. Which club have you signed up for? I didn't. I need to think first. That's a pity. It's vital for you to sign in somewhere tomorrow. Of course. Sure. Right. It's time to go to dinner. About time. I was getting hungry. I headed to the canteen together with Olga Dimitrievna. I looked at the sky and noticed that the sun was already setting. On the porch stood Alyssa, Electronic, Uliana, and Slavia. As we came up, I heard what they were talking about. And never call me Vachi again, or you'll get another one.
I didn't call you that. You're hearing things.
He did! I heard it all.
You weren't even there.
I was, in the bushes.
Oh my goodness. Come on, you guys, stop it. I'm glad one of them is just a normal voice.
So, it wasn't a football injury Electronic suffered earlier today. The nurse did a good job. I couldn't even see his black eye. Olga Dimitrievna came up to them and asked about the ruckus. What happened?
Alisa and Chizkov.
I didn't do anything.
She shrugged with antipathy and went inside. Right, dinner time. I entered last. There weren't too many free seats. There were a few free chairs near Alisa across the canteen, but I'd sooner starve for a week or two than risk my head near her. There was also a seat near Uliana, but I'm not into traditional Chinese whatever crawls cuisine. Finally, a free chair near Miku. Looks like I'll have to pick my poison. You mind if I sit here?
Yeah, sure. No, I don't mind. Yes. You can sit here.
I sat down.
Look, it's buckwheat today. Do you like buckwheat and chicken? I don't like chicken. Well, not that I don't like it. But if you ask me, I would say I prefer, say, stroganoff beef or ragout. Or maybe just a hamburger. Or a rump steak. Do you like rump steak?
I'm not that picky about my food. And that's the simple truth.
Oh, is that so? But the desserts, they aren't really good here. I like ice cream. Do you like ice cream? I love 48 Kopecks. And Leningradsko. Oh, I'm sorry, I keep talking about myself. These are late Soviet Union ice creams. Wonderful. Maybe you like Eskimo better.
Dinner was starting to get on my nerves thanks to such company. And I'm not the kind of person that can just ignore someone who's talking to them. Even her. We're at the same table, after all.
I once bought a waffle cone and started eating, and then you know what? I found a screw there. A real screw. Can you imagine that? Or was it a bolt? I don't really know. Screws are those that you tighten with screwdrivers, and bolts are those that you turn with a wrench, yes?
If there was a speed eating contest going on, I would probably be in the top 3 winners by now. Right. I'll be going. Enjoy your meal. I got up and headed outside. Miku was saying something, but her words were drowned by the crowd of loudly dining pioneers.
This guy needs to be nicer to Miku.
I went out and sat on the stairs, waiting for my dinner to settle down a bit. I just sat there and watched night falling. Everything was so lively here during the day. Kids laughing and yelling happily, fooling and running around, constant chatter, games going on, and swimming at the beach. But after dark, the camp changes entirely. The sounds of day were swapped for silence, only now and then broken by crickets chirping, or a night bird. The camp was going to sleep. In every shadow you could see things. Maybe a ghost, or a spirit of the forest, or a wild animal. A human being would be the last thing to expect. That is how it looked last night, and now. The locals followed their routine very strictly. In the day, the camp was theirs. In the night, it belonged more to the forces of nature than to humans. Someone touched my shoulder. I looked back. It was electronic.
Let's go play cards.
Cards?
Yep, I invented a new game. A good one.
Good? Like how?
Well, first we got to find the cards, then I'll tell you. Let's go find them. What's the problem? Only Olga Dimitrievna has them, and she won't give them to me.
Why so?
Well, the last time when we... Olga Dimitrievna and Slavia came out onto the porch.
Olga Dimitrievna, Semyon just wanted to ask you about the possibility of getting playing cards.
Actually, for what purpose?
We invented a new game.
Not we. Not we. You did.
What game? I need the cards to show you.
I don't like this.
Well, if Semyon is with you, then perhaps it's okay.
To be really honest.
We'll go fetch them together, Olga Dimitrievna. You know what? Sure.
If you don't mind.
Sure, let's go. Slavia's giving me the feeling of they present as normal, but they're gonna be the weird monster flash on this jump scare on the screen later.
We headed towards my cabin. Roughly halfway there, Slavia stopped.
Hey, I just remembered. The cards are in my cabin. Good timing.
And where's that?
It's just down this road. Oh, it's just down this road. Let's go. We reached a cabin that, in fact, looked more like a trailer. Just wait here a minute. I'll be back.
It took her a few seconds to come back.
There. She showed me a deck of pretty worn-out cards.
Those must be marked in and out.
That's unsportsmanlike. What happened to fair play?
Tell me about it. It's hard to cheat when you don't know the rules.
Shall we go?
Let's go. On our way back, I decided to try and find out something. How long have you been here?
At this camp? About a week.
I see. And where did you come from?
I'm from the north.
That is...
the cold north.
She looked at me and smiled. Looks like nobody in this camp is inclined to answer even the most innocent of questions. I tried to approach from another angle. And what do you like?
What do you mean?
Well, your hobbies?
Oh, I like nature.
Strange. She's not very talkative today for some reason. Nature. I see. Want to become a natural historian?
More like a normal historian. I was always interested in our nation's history.
That would suit her well indeed. It appeared that, among all the locals, she was the only one that had nothing to hide. What if she came here just like me and simply couldn't trust anyone enough to tell? I tried testing the waters. And why did you choose this camp?
I didn't. My parents got a voucher for me from their work.
Another failure. Well, if you could choose.
It's nice here. I don't think I would choose some other place if I could. Here it's like you are becoming another person.
That wasn't how I saw it. What do you mean, another person?
It's just that there's so many possibilities. You can learn so much, meet so many new, interesting people here.
Now she started to sound like our chief, which raised a red flag for me. I decided to stop with the questions. For now. When we came back, Olga Dimitrievna told Slavia.
I just remembered the cards were at your place. It's okay. We got it.
Good. Good. Slavia and Olga Dimitrievna went inside. I was going to follow, but someone grabbed my hand. Alisa. Her gaze sent a shiver down my spine. Not a nice one. You want something? I asked carefully. You're going to play this stupid game? Yes. Something wrong with that? Nope, nothing. She was turning to leave, but then slowly looked back and smiled. So, you play cards? A little. I couldn't figure out what she wanted. So, only Durak and that's it? Name of a card game, good. As if you're a poker star. Well, yes, technically. Then you don't have a chance. Why? Because. So you know the rules? Of course. Well then, you'll have the upper hand. I couldn't see why we would go on talking and motioned towards the door. Why do you keep on trying to leave? Is there anything else you'd like to talk about? Let's make a bet. What do you mean? You're such a slowpoke. The cards, what else? And what do you want to bet on? That I'll win. That's quite a possible outcome. I agreed calmly. So, are you afraid? No, I'm not. I'm not big on bets when I don't like my chances. And you're not big on taking risks, too. Such an astute observation. I'm impressed. Right, then I... No, you're not. Now what? I sighed in exhaustion. She was starting to annoy me with her rubbish talk and some pointless bet. If you won't bet with me, I'll tell everyone that you tried to seduce me. What? You heard me. I could imagine her doing this. Don't be stupid. Who's going to believe you? I've been here less than 2 days. Besides. Want to try your luck? Right. And what will happen if I win? I won't tell anyone anything. And if I lose? Slowpoke mode again. I'll tell everyone you tried to seduce me. I told you already. So you're telling me now that I have to work to prove that I didn't do something when I didn't actually do it? If that's how you want to look at it. Not a simple decision. On the one hand, it was stupid to agree. I didn't know the rules and gambling wasn't my thing. On the other hand, she really could make my life hell. Then again, can I even trust her? She can do it even if I win. So, have you made a decision? I was going to answer, but suddenly Lena came around me from behind. What? Nothing. Lena hurried inside. So?
Well, if I don't do anything, bad happens for sure. If I do something, she says she won't do it, so I guess that really is the only option.
I may regret it 100 times. Fine, I'll do it. She smiled. But if I win... Oh, yeah, all fair, no cheating. Alex returned, went up the stairs, and inside the canteen. Why am I doing this? Real. Because she can set me up regardless if she wants to, since she decided to anyway. I let out a heavy sigh and followed her through the door. Inside, everything was ready. A few pioneers stood here and there, chatting. The tables were moved out of the way to make room for players and spectators. I looked around.
Oop, I need to cough again. Hold on. Gets a little gravelly down there sometimes.
Something was going on in the far corner. When I came closer, I saw a large piece of paper with a diagram drawn on it. My name was among the players. And who came up with all this? I patted Electronic, who was standing near. Well, of course, it was your most humble servant. He bowed to me jokingly. This made me uncomfortable to the point of squirming. And why in the world am I among the players, then? I was disappointed. A few seconds ago, I thought I still had a slim chance to evade this tournament. Then I wouldn't have to fear Alice's revenge for losing the bet with her. But now that hope was gone. It was just pure coincidence. Yeah, right. Coincidence. Except that I was already acquainted with every one of the contestants, while there were a few other dozen pioneers standing in the room. I was seized by anxiety. It's the feeling of being watched while standing in an empty room with no windows and doors. Will there be a prize? I asked him lazily. I wanted to distract myself with a pointless conversation. Electronic was just about to answer, then Uliana came out of nowhere and started jumping around him. Prizes! Prizes! I heard something about prizes! Do you know what is the mean ethos of the Olympic Games?
It's not the winning, but taking part that counts.
A what? No. You'll understand when you grow up. She made a wry face and jabbed Electronic in the ribs. So what about the prize? Well, I don't know. It's not up to me. He made a helpless gesture. Really, if they came up with this stupid game, at least they could give a winner a chocolate medal or something. Uliana suddenly jumped and raced off to somewhere. I wish I was that optimistic. So what about the rules? Wait a bit. Not everyone is here yet. I looked around the canteen. Alisa, Slavia, Lena, Miku, and Shurik were here. It seems like everyone is here. Not everyone. Zhenya isn't here. Does he feel uneasy? Or is it just me? She's not here, so what? Pick someone else instead. No, I can't do that, he answered slowly. I decided not to ask exactly why he can't do this. Well, go fetch her or something. I don't know. He can't go. He's the host of the event. The camp leader appeared as if from nowhere. But Olga Dimitrievna, Electronic whined. Semyon will go. Right, Semyon? She looked at me and smiled. Of course. Who else? Where is she? In the library, I guess. Okay. I dragged my feet towards the door. Please hurry. What is Electronic's problem, anyways? Night is coming soon. I was going to take my time, so I slowly paced towards the library. But I found Zhenya before I even expected. She was sitting on the bench at the square, staring at Genda, who was silent as always. What are you doing here? Everyone is looking for you. Sitting here, as you can see. She frowned. Well, let's go. I don't want to. She looked away. Why not? I don't want to. I sat beside her. Listen, I don't like the idea of this contest myself, but we can't let everyone down. I surely didn't sound like myself there. A couple of days ago, I wouldn't even think of saying something like that. Zhenya looked at me with surprise on her face. So everyone is waiting for me? Isn't that exactly what I said? Yes. I won't go anyway. She frowned and hid her face. But why? I gestured with my arms, wondering. I don't know how to play cards. So what? Same problem here. Then how can you play? What? You can only do things that you read about in books or something? Of course. She was surprised. And what if you end up in Antarctica and have to rely on hunting polar bears to survive? Gamer tip. No polar bears in Antarctica. It means no bears. Oh, look at that. I know it. Polar bears don't live in Antarctica. Jenya smiled. Doesn't matter. It's just an example. Come on. It's not like someone's life depends on the result. She took her time to think. I just don't want to let anyone down. Right. I agreed sarcastically. And don't you think anything funny about that. I didn't get what she meant, but anyway. Obviously, everyone has their weak spots. In a minute, we were both back at the canteen. Everyone looked at Electronic. So, he cleared his throat. Each round consists of one game. In a case of a draw, you replay the game. After this, the loser drops out and the next round begins. Since the number of volunteers... He looked at me. Since the number of volunteers is just 8, we'll only have 3 rounds. Is everything clear? The crowd cheered. And what are the prizes? The prizes, what are they? Uliana, cut it out. Slavia stepped forward and tried to catch Uliana. I won't rest until the prize is mine. Seems like this girl alone had enough energy for a warp jump to Alpha Centauri. Prizes! Prizes! She repeated it over and over. Stop it. Slavia tried to reason with her. Electronics seemed to be getting dizzy from all this running around. Let's start already, I said calmly, and added to Uliana, or you won't get any prizes. Looks like my argument got through to her, so she took her place. Slavia followed her, giving me a grateful smile as she passed. The pioneers finally settled down. I approached the table that Lena sat behind. You don't mind? She looked up and blushed. Don't worry, I don't know the rules myself. And how can I be sure it's not only myself? I sat down. Turns out we'll have to play the first round together. Yes. Finally, Electronic started to explain the rules. Look at the cards carefully. There are exactly 6 of them in front of you. I hope everyone here knows how to count. Now you can look at them. After everyone had their cards, Electronic moved on. The rules here are similar to poker. I hope everyone knows how to play. I knew the rules, but I wasn't so sure about the others. First of all, it's a top card, then 1 pair, then 2 pairs, then 3 of a kind. And so on. No flushes or straights, though. In the first round, you choose a card that you would like to take from your opponent. In turn, your opponent can choose to swap 2 of his cards around twice. Or he can choose not to do so, if he doesn't need the card which you are taking. Take a note here that your opponent can see which cards are trading places. In the next step, your opponent takes a card he chooses. And so on. I think it's pretty clear. It wasn't too clear to me. Hey you, Einstein! Uliana yelled at him from her table. I don't get a thing! You'll figure it out as we go. Electronic went to the table with the diagram, leaving Uliana to smolder in solitude. You go first. I hoped I could get my mind around the game fast enough. Lena, more perplexed than usual, reached out for my cards. In the middle of the table, her hand stopped. Will you? Oh yeah, I should be protecting my card. What was it Electronic said? Try to confuse my component, I can swap 2 of my cards. Twice. Or I can choose not to. Should I protect my card or not? By the way, I can also agree and give her the card she chose straight away. Otherwise, Lena can change her mind and take another card if she wants. Or she might not. Oh boy, a card game. Okay, I'm going to swap these two. I mean, I have two of a kind here, and I have a 3, a 4, and a 5, which would be straight. I don't really know the rules of poker. The ace, I don't know how helpful that's going to be to me, so I'll keep my 3s apart. That way, if one's grabbed, I still have the other one. Things were becoming clear, or at least comprehensible. Now it's my turn. I can take back my card from her, or I can choose another one. She took an 8. Why don't I take a new one? I'm going to take this one. Lena can try and protect her card. But if I watch closely, I can take the card I choose regardless of her movements. Okay, so that'd be this one then. Okay, that's something. Electronic, who was silently watching our game, nodded in approval. Looks like now we're getting somewhere. Now, during the round, opponents trade cards 3 times. Keep an eye on each other. Keep an eye on each other. Penetrate your opponent with your eyes. I chuckled. Penetrate. What's so funny? Oh, never mind. I tried to keep a straight face. He stared at me for a moment, then moved on. And then we turned the cards up to see whose hand is better. Electronic went back to his diagram. Okay. Oh, I do want to keep these cards. I got the 2 aces. That's got to be pretty good. And 2 6s. Hold on, it's my turn. I can defend my card. I do want to defend my card. I'm going to switch these 2. And then I will, just to keep them on their toes, switch these 2. No, my 6. I'm taking that back. Okay. I picked that one. I still picked that one. Alright, I hope 2 aces and 2 6s are enough. I'm going to swap these 2 around. And then swap these 2 around. Keeps taking my 6. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep it. Alright. One more swap, I think. We'll swap these 2 around. We'll swap these 2 around. Okay, took the queen. That's not bad. Let's see if I can get something new. I'll take that one. I'll take that one. I'll take that one. Not really helpful. But I win! Look at that. I'm good at card game. Yay. I won. Seriously. It's hard to play a game that was made up on the spot, and not by yourself either. But I won. Although, the moment of glory was tainted by the fact that it was Lena who was the loser. She's not very confident in general, but now she's lost. I'm too embarrassed to even look at her now. Perhaps I should have lost to boost her self-esteem. But I have a bet with Alisa. Meanwhile, Electronic proudly announced that the first round is over. A list of those who made it to the second round appeared on the scheme after a little while. Semi-final pairs consisted of Alisa versus Zhenya and Uliana versus me. A doomed sigh escaped me. Uliana immediately took a seat in front of me. Ha! She glared at me, grinning. How did you manage to outplay Lena? Cheated, perhaps? I'm not you. I just know how to play cards. At least that's what I want her to believe. And how could you outplay Shurik? Ah! Uliana waved her hand, showing how easy it was. I threatened to join his club. She grinned yet again. Would you hold back too? Not a chance. Then I'll choose which card I give you myself. Did you hear the rules? Ah, screw them. It looked like she really didn't care. Okay, but I choose the cards to give to you too. Deal. Inspired by my victory in the first round, I ventured upon this dangerous move. I could have argued, appealed to electronic, and eventually had my own way. But somehow, I felt truly confident in the outcome of this round. Yes, we were breaking the rules, but I was in the same boat as Uliana. I looked up at electronic. It's time to begin the semifinals, he commanded. I carefully checked my cards, ensuring that Uliana couldn't see them.
All right, we got 2 of a kind. We've got, not really a straight. And let's hand over the 3. And I get, I'll take that. We'll give up the 7. I get my 3 back. That's fine. I get a 9. And I get... Oh, I gave away that 9. I shouldn't have. Hey, I still win, though. Lucky me. All right.
Hey, this isn't fair. You should have held back and lost. She angrily puffed up her cheeks, making her resemble Humpty Dumpty. Let's have a rematch, but this time you have to hold back, got it? It wasn't only me who heard her, but the entire room, even electronic. No rematches allowed. Uliana completely ignored him. You have to lose. I don't have the slightest intention of playing with you for a second time, I said calmly. Fine, you want it that way? Yes, that way.
What's up with these people?
Then I'll put the word out that you sexually harassed Alisa, she whispered. What? I leaned over the table and gave her a menacing glare. So, you've been eavesdropping. I just heard it while passing by. Anyway, it's much better to play an extra round than... She can certainly do that. I sighed and appealed to electronic. Not a problem, we'll have a quick rematch. Whatever. He shrugged. So, the rematch has started.
Well, I don't care if she will do that, because if I lose, that happens anyways, according to Alisa. So I'm gonna win. Because I'm a winner. This is what winners do. I got a 4. That's not helpful. Take a 4. I get a 2. That's not helpful. I get a 2. And I get... And I win. Easy peasy, I said and reclined on my seat. That's not fair! I hope she won't demand another rematch. How come? I chuckled. Okay, said Uliana aggrievedly and got up from the table. I studied the tournament scheme closely, trying to understand who's going to be my final rival. At the same moment, Alisa took place at my table. I pulled a dumb, feigned smile. Like I'm afraid of her. Congratulations. Expecting to win? I'm expecting that you'll keep your promise. Okay, let's roll. I'm getting a pretty good hand. I have a few good ones here. Let's give him a 3. All right, we're back to swapping things. We'll swap those 2 around. And we'll do that. We'll swap those 2 around. And we'll take that one. And we'll take that one. And it's that one. Okay, that's a good one. I kind of want to keep everything. Well, there goes my 9. I'll keep it, though. I'll keep it, though. I'll keep it, though. Got my 10 back. I'll swap these two. Swap these two. Took my 7. Keep it. Keep it. Keep it. And I win. Wow. Look at that.
Hooray, I won. That'll let Alyssa know who rules the roost here. That means that betting with her wasn't a waste. Now the only thing left is to hope that she will not spread that false gossip because of her loss. Suddenly, I got a desire to celebrate my own victory and have a dip at the beach. This is happening very quickly. To tell the truth, I do not really know how to swim, but the possibility of diving into the cool water under the moonlight seemed attractive. Madness. After all, I spent the whole of yesterday in my winter clothes, and surely you could nicely wring the sweat out of me. In the evening, no one should be here, so I took off all my clothes except my underpants and entered the water. If only I knew, I would have taken my swimming trunks along. Usually, it was enough for me to swim for 15 to 20 meters, but this time the euphoria of my victory spurred me on to break this record. I swam slowly and tactfully, watching every movement of my arms and legs and keeping my breath steady. All of a sudden, wham! A strike on my back sent me underwater. I started to drown, but managed to force myself to jump out and grab the nearby buoy. I thought it was nighttime. I turned and saw Alyssa swimming after me. "What the hell are you doing?" "What am I doing? Hailing the winner." "And what if I started drowning?" "Well, I'd save you." "Of course." It was just too dangerous to stay here. She could easily sink me again. I gathered all my strength and swam to the shore. I slowly started to catch my breath. Beach sand stuck to my body from head to toe. After some time, Alyssa came out of the water. "You know, you swim well." "I wouldn't say so." "Yeah, you too." "Well, wasn't that obvious?" I said nothing. "You won twice against me today. That means I will forget 2 of your debts." What kind of debts is she talking about? It looks like Alyssa has a problem with evaluating reality. "Thanks a lot," I said sarcastically. "You know, you're not as much of a loser as I thought." Alyssa was wearing a swimsuit that perfectly emphasized the beauty of her figure. Well, taking into account all the flaws in her personality, at least this advantage of hers couldn't be taken away. Since when did I become a loser? She smiled cunningly. "What's wrong? Aren't you one?" "Of course not." "And how will you prove it?" "I don't have to prove anything." "Oh, so is that it?" she said without any anger. "Yes, that's it." The silence was expected. The light wind gently played with the waves, sending them to the shore and taking them back after. Alyssa was still looking through me, as if, it seemed, she had completely forgotten about my presence. "Hey, Earth to Alyssa." Her lost look immediately switched back to her normal one. "Anyway, bye-bye." She picked up her clothes lying nearby and left. Ellipse. It was late, but I decided to spend a little bit more time lying on my back and stargazing. After all, I didn't have that many opportunities for that before. Or I simply tried to avoid every opportunity. Well, if we think about it, The light from faraway stars reaches us only after millions of years. Right now I can see the star because it was shining back then, long in the past. And now this star is gone. Already exploded. Wait a minute. She took my clothes, too. I got up and looked around the beach. No doubt about it. Alyssa took my pioneer uniform. Damn it! And I was just starting to think that maybe she's not so spoiled. I need to come up with an idea quickly. Certainly I could go complain to Olga Dimitrievna, but not in my wet underpants. I didn't know which cabin Alyssa lives in either, and knocking on every door is certainly not a good idea. Maybe I should go to Slavia. Yes, of course, at night, wearing my underpants. The only thing missing is a rose in my teeth. Overall, it looks like I am screwed. In any case, I have to do something. I was lucky not so much time had passed since she left, so I could still catch up with Alyssa. Hurry up! In the blink of an eye, I found myself at the square. To my great surprise, Alyssa was sitting on a bench, apparently bored. She had already changed. Give them back. Yeah, sure. Take 'em. She muttered with a guilty tone and handed back my uniform. Don't think I was waiting for you on purpose or anything like that. Alyssa turned her back and set off towards the cabins at an easy pace. I was left standing riveted to the spot. I didn't expect such a twist. The guilt did its job, perhaps. Fat chance. Anyways, it's better to keep away from her, and recent events do not change a thing. I headed back to Olga Dimitrievna's cabin. For the first time today, I finally felt how tired I was. There was no light in the window, so Olga Dimitrievna must have been sleeping already. Strangely enough, she waited for me yesterday. I entered the cabin, quietly stripped and laid on the bed. When you think about it, my situation hasn't gotten any clearer today. In fact, I've spent a whole day doing useless stuff. I would never have even thought about doing something like this in the real world. Although I had plenty of time. How much time I would have here is still a total mystery. Maybe an eternity. Or maybe there are only a few minutes left. I just didn't want to think about the past. About how I got to this camp. For the first time in a long while, I felt really tired. Not only emotionally tired, but also physically tired, psychologically tired, and God knows how else tired. I just wanted everyone and everything to shove off, starting with my own thoughts. I wanted this mess somehow resolved by itself, or at least without my active participation. And what if I'm stuck here forever? Then I'll have to get used to it. So, just like that, I'm not ready. Ahem. My consciousness slowly drifted away from me, and it became progressively harder to concentrate on something distinct. Perhaps it's better to wait until tomorrow. I rolled over and fell asleep. All right, that feels to me like a good stopping point. I think I'm going to save the game here, and we'll pick up next time, maybe this time next week, with Part 2 and Day 3. We will save the game, and I am going to switch back to the just chatting. All right. Those couple of you still watching, I want to thank you, watching, listening. This is definitely me out of my element, but not in a bad way. I think I'm enjoying myself, so I think I'll keep going. I'll be back tomorrow with Broseph, back to the usual Elden Ring stuff, and then I think we'll try to find some time for this game here and there going forward. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. Oh yeah. So, with that, I hope to wish everyone watching a good day, and I am going to depart.